Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tadane Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So actually in the Bhagavatam you're studying the 6th canto, I believe, and now it is the discussion with the Yamadutas. So based on that, I just made a little presentation. It started out in one form. I was going to do something else, but then it turned into something else again. So anyway, the story of Ajamil is in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam, and there are actually different subject matters in the Bhagavatam. It says there are 10 different subject matters. It's mentioned there in the 2nd canto and again at the end of the Bhagavatam, 10 topics, which are the subjects of a Mahapurana, or the major Purana. So we have Sarga, Visarga, Sthana, Pushanam, Uti, Manvantara, Isha, Anukata, Nirodha, Mukti, and Asraya. So these are the general topics, and that's why we have we don't just have Krishna pastimes of 10th canto, we got a whole Bhagavatam to cover all these different topics. And of course, Sarga means the primary creation. That is Mahavishnu glancing over matter and then manifesting Mahatattva and Ahankara, all the elements and the sense objects and the senses, and these combine into universes. And then we have the little universes there. And then we have Visarga. Vishnu enters each universe as Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and from his navel springs Brahma. And then Brahma carries out Visarga. And it's made very clear in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th cantos that Brahma actually cannot do anything on his own. It is through the inspiration and the power of the Supreme Lord that Brahma is able to make all the planetary systems and all the bodies for the living entities. On his own, he can do nothing. So it's Brahma is a secondary creator, but the primary power comes from Supreme Lord. And of course, then we have a whole list of the living entities that are produced in the 4th canto. And then in the 5th canto, the planets that are created by Brahma are discussed. The living entities are jivas, but they have material bodies. And they all have different bodies. So we have plant bodies, animal bodies, human bodies, devata bodies, rakshasa bodies, etc. So at the very beginning, Brahma creates bodies for these living entities, not whimsically, but according to past karma from previous universe, and previous universe, and previous universe. So it's a continuation. But the bodies have to exist someplace in a material realm because they have material bodies. So he makes all the planetary systems. So in the 5th canto, we got a discussion of the Bhumandala in the middle section, with Mount Meru in the middle and all the dvipas, and we have our Jambudvip in the middle with Varsha here. And then we have upper planetary systems for people who are more sattvic, and then we have lower planetary systems for people who are more tamasic. So according to gunas, then we have different places, locations for different types of bodies. So that's 5th canto. So all of this is done by Brahma with the intelligence of Supreme Lord. So there's jivas and places for jivas to live, and then they got their senses so they can do their activities in these different places and they can get their enjoyment. But basically it's all ignorance. So the Lord does not abandon the jivas in the material world. He does different things to guide them, even though it's free will of jiva. He doesn't force them. He gives them opportunities in the material world. So that is now discussed. So the next topic is called Poshana, how the Lord protects people in the material world, devotees and even non-devotees. So in the 6th canto of Bhagavatam, we have the story of Ajamil, which is present in Bhagavatam under discussion. So even for a person like Ajamil, who wasn't even a devotee and was actually very sinful, he got protection of the Lord through the chanting the name of Narayana. So this is one way in which the Lord protects his devotee. Of course, we also have other stories. We have this story of how the Lord comes in the material world, his avatar, and he protects devotees in this way as well, like that. And so that's one subject. Another is uti, which means the different impulses, basically good and bad, demon and devotee. Two creations. We see when Brahma creates everybody, all these different bodies. He creates the demons. He creates the daityas. He creates all these horrible creatures. And then he creates the devatas and the rishis and everybody else. So basically the world, material universe is divided into these two types. And they come in conflict all the time. So there's constant battle going on between the forces of good and evil in the material world. In our planet, lower planets, and upper planets. And we see some of the battles that take place. So in the 7th canto, we have Hiranyakasipu against Prahlad, for instance, the devotee and the demon, and how the Lord interferes. That's uti. And the Lord provides management system for the general population. So he establishes lines of kings. He has Manvantara periods, and in the Manvantara periods, which last 71 yuga cycles, 14 times in one day of Brahma, he puts a Manu in charge. And a Manu is empowered by the Lord to rule over the human beings. And so we have Manus, 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. And they establish a dynasty of kings, their family and their descendants that go on for 71 yuga cycles. And what do they manage? They manage the human population, instituting dharma, varnashram dharma. So that's for the general public. As well, these Manus, they're also devotees. So we see in the line of Swayambhuva Manu, the first one described in the 4th canto, how Dhruva became a Manu, Priyavrata became a descendant of Manu when they ruled over the earth, and they're great devotees of the Lord. And similarly, we have Rishabhadev, and then we have Bharat, etc. Great devotees, and Ambarish. So they're not only varnashramic, they're also devotees. So those qualified for devotion get inspired by bhakti. Those who are not inspired by devotion, at least they follow varnashram. And this sets up a system for the people to gradually become purified and go from tamagun to sattvagun. So that's described in 8th canto. We have a list of the Manus and even the future Manus. And then we have Isha Anukata, stories of the Lord and his devotees. Of course, in the 9th canto we have Ramchandra, but of course throughout the Bhagavatam we have the various incarnations and stories of devotees, etc. And then we have the 9th topic, mukti, how to get out of the material world. We're stuck in the material world in ignorance with our material bodies, so we should strive to get out of the material world. So we have a topic called mukti, liberation. And another topic, we got nirod, destruction of the material world. Just to remind everybody that they shouldn't try to remain in the material world and go to Brahmaloka. Everything is destroyed, ultimately. So nothing in the material world is permanent. So this is described in the 12th canto, 4 types of destruction that take place, nirod. But the 10th topic is the most important of all. That's the asraya, or the shelter of everything, or the cause of everything. So of course the cause is the Supreme Lord, and in different Puranas they have the 10 topics also, like Vishnu Purana or Padma Purana or whatever, they have 10 topics, but and asraya is there. But in Bhagavatam, the asraya is very special because it is Krishna. Krishna is very special because in the Bhagavatam 1st canto, Krishna is designated as Bhagavan Swayam. He is a distinct form of Bhagavan. One Supreme Lord with many forms, but Krishna is the special form among all the different forms of the Lord. He's Swayam Bhagavan. So this is the 10th topic of the Puranas, and the 10th topic of Bhagavatam makes this very special because it is Krishna. So primarily in the 10th canto, we get the descriptions of Krishna and his Leela. So in this way, we have all of these different topics of the Bhagavatam. Ultimately, Krishna is the most important, and they're all related to glorify, ultimately, Krishna, the supreme shelter of everything. So we have, Sarga with Mahavishnu, and then we have Garbhodaksha Vishnu, Kshirodaksha Vishnu. That's involved with the creation, Sarga, Visarga, etc. Ultimately, they are, we say, amsas of Krishna. They're all one, of course, but we can say they're expanded forms, and that the full manifestation of power, beauty, mercy, etc. is in Krishna. So he's the primary form, and everything comes from him. So Sarga, Visarga, Sthana, or Uti, Poshana, etc. ultimately leads to Krishna as the ultimate in all these factors, whatever they are. Okay? For instance, we have mukti. Okay, the regular mukti is get out of the material world, end your karma, merge in Brahman. Huh? So, and we have processes to do that. Lord establishes sages to teach jnana and yoga, etc. We have Dattatreya and other people teaching these things. Even Kapila Dev gives a section on yoga and jnana. So that's there. And for people in general, that's so. But then Krishna has a special form of mukti. What is that? He kills the demon, and they get mukti also. Or, even more special, he kills the demon like Putana. They get a special mukti, vimukti, vishesha mukti. What is that? They get a form in the spiritual world. They get Salokya and Sarupya even. That's a very special mukti. So in other words, all these topics are there, and they relate to the different Purusha avatars, and Leela avatars, etc. But ultimately, when they come to Krishna, he's like a special form of everything here. So and by learning all these other things in the other cantos, then we can also relate that to Krishna and see how he's very special on all of these different topics like that. So here we have the topic of Poshana in this particular story of Ajamil and chanting the name of the Supreme Lord, etc. Very, very special story to describe illustrate the power of chanting the holy name. In this case, it was not even intentional. So, Ajamil was not a devotee. He did not have any faith. He was not a demon. It's not that he was always proclaiming Vishnu's Maya or Krishna's illusory, no. But he was very sinful. At the same time, he didn't really offend the Lord directly. He didn't offend the devotees also. There's no mention of that. So he named his son Narayana, not out of devotion or anything. So accidentally, we can say. And by chanting the name Narayana to mean his son, all of his karmas disappeared, which is very difficult to do. Past, present, future karmas, aprabdha and prabdha karmas all disappeared. The jnani or the yogi may spend many lifetimes to destroy their karmas. You talk about the yogi there for thousands of years meditating, and through that process they destroy their subtle body and their karmas, etc. A great endeavor for many thousands of years. And here, Ajamil says, okay, I name my little son Narayana. And when he says his son Narayana, name Narayana, all of his karmas are gone. So, and then we say, well, how is that possible? How is it possible? Because look, he's very sinful. And even after he named his son Narayana and chanted the name Narayana, he was still doing sinful activities. How could he be free of sin? So what's the proof? When he was dying, the Yamadutas came to take him to get his punishment, his karma. They couldn't do anything because there's no karma. They said, there must be karma because we saw him doing all the sinful activity. Vishnuduta says, no, there is no karma. We protect, under the order of the Lord, we protect anyone who chants the holy name of the Lord. So he has no karma. You cannot punish him. There's no punishment due to him at all. He has no karmas. That's the proof. Of course, we have to rely on the witnessing of Ajamil. He saw the whole thing, and the this testimony of the Vishnudutas. But very powerful. The accidental chanting of the holy name of Narayana can remove all of your karmas instantaneously, whereas it takes a yogi thousands and thousands of years with great endeavor renouncing everything and doing great austerities and hiding in the Himalayas someplace and meditating and doing whatever he does, pranayama, asana, etc. Great endeavor. And here, sinful Ajamil, no effort at all, got all of his karmas destroyed. So this is the power of the name of the Lord. So that shows us the great power of the Supreme Lord himself and how he's very merciful in his name. But then if we think about it, there's something it's called kaimutya. It's a method of expression in Sanskrit. If this is so, then how much more if this? So if Putana can get killed by the Lord and she was a demon and get a form in the spiritual world, then how much more a devotee can get if he endeavors to please the Lord for many lifetimes, then he will get something much higher than Putana. So that's an example of kaimutya. If this, some one result is like, how much more this will be. So if Ajamil chants the name of Narayan accidentally, and he destroys all of his karmas, how much more will happen if we chant Krishna's name? Because we know that if Vishnu's name is there, but Rama's name is equal to 1,000 Vishnu's name. So we should get 1,000 times the effect if Ajamil had chanted Rama's name instead of Vishnu's name, Narayan. He named his son Rama. Then he would have got 1,000 times the effect. But then the Brahmavivarta Purana says that Krishna's name is equal to 3 Rama's names. So then if he had named his son Krishna, then he would have got 3,000 times the effect of simply destroying all of his karmas, past, present, future, whatever that would be. We don't know, but anyway. So therefore, if Narayan's name, Vishnu's name, can give this effect for Ajamil, how much more can happen from Krishna's name? At least 3,000 times. But then the other thing we have to think of is Ajamil at once chanted the name. So if we chant continually, how much more we'll get? And he chanted accidentally, with no devotion at all. So if we chant with devotion and continually Krishna's name, how much more effect we'll get? Furthermore, he did it in complete ignorance. But we know devotees not only have devotion, but they also have knowledge. So we read how we should do pure bhakti in Nectar Devotion, Anya Abhilasha Sunya, etc. We learn about the qualities of Krishna and the activities of Krishna in 10th canto of Bhagavatam. So we also have knowledge. So if we chant with devotion and spiritual knowledge, that how much more effect we should get from chanting Krishna's name. So when we hear the story of Ajamil, yes, we should accept that, but then we should also relate that to Krishna and say how much more effect we'll get from devotionally, with knowledge, chanting the name of Krishna repeatedly. And of course, if we're in Sampradaya, etc., even better. And if we're under Lord Chaitanya's mercy, even better. So, of course, why is this difference? God is one. So why do we make distinctions? Why do we say Krishna is better than Vishnu, or better than Rama, or better than Nrsimhadev? But that's the statement of Bhagavatam. As a whole list of avatars are given in the first canto in response to the sages of Naimisaranya. They discuss the avatars. So a whole list is given. And then it says, Krishna stu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the special form. So why? Why is Krishna special? They're all equal. Should be all equal. Huh? So the answer is that obviously because they have different forms, they're not equal. Rama is green. Krishna's blue. So they're not exactly the same. They have different forms, obviously. And we also see they have different activities suitable to that particular form. So what does Rama do? He is a king, and he rules like a king. And what does Krishna do? He's a cowherd boy, and he doesn't rule anything. He plays like a cowherd boy. So his activities are suitable to his particular form. And similarly, we have Varaha. He's in a pig form. Huh? And he does activities of jumping into the Garbhadak ocean, and with his tusks, he pulls out Bhumandala and places it in its proper place again. So his function is to deliver the earth with his tusks. And he does that. So, and of course, Nrsimhadev, what does he do? He manifests anger, and he tears apart Hiranyakasipu and pulls out his intestines. An anger. So each particular form is suitable to particular types of activities. So they have particular pastimes, and they manifest different qualities according to that. So, naturally, there's some difference in that sense. Manifestation of form, qualities, and activities will be slightly different in the different forms. So, we can grade the forms, and that's what Rupa Goswami does in Lagu Bhagavatamrita. He starts grading the different forms from, we have Prabhava, Vaibhava form, Paravasta forms, and then Purna forms. And then among the Purna forms, we have Nrsimhadev, Rama, and finally we get Krishna at the very top. So he's the very top form. So another way of expressing this is in the Nectar Devotion, in the first part, when he's talking about bhakti in general and Vaidhi bhakti. Then Rupa Goswami addresses this subject of what's the difference between Krishna and Vishnu. So Siddhantata, from the point of view of Siddhanta, or philosophy, but not different, because there's only one Bhagavan. There's not two Bhagavans. There's many jivas, but there's only one Bhagavan. But he has many forms. So why want to distinguish the different forms? Vishnu and Krishna. And the distinction is the rasa. Krishna manifests unlimited variegated rasas in comparison to all the other forms of the Lord. So the very first verse of the Nectar Devotion is, in the first line actually, is Akila Rasamrita Murti. Krishna is the very form of all rasas. 5 primary rasas and 7 secondary rasas, 12 rasas. Krishna is the complete form of all of that, which means that he expresses all of these rasas in a more surprising way, in a more wonderful way than all the other forms of the Lord. Of course, we know for most forms of the Lord, the main display is dasya. Vishnu is all dasya rasa. Brahma is mainly dasya rasa, except with Sita, he has Madhurya rasa, etc. Like this. But with Krishna, we got Shanta, dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya, manifested in all sorts of devotees. So that's the difference. And those rasas, not only varieties there, but they become more intense because of the sweetness in relation to Krishna. So that is one speciality. And Lord Chaitanya, of course, comes to do something very special, not only reveal Krishna, and of course the holy name, and not only the holy name, but Krishna's name, which is very special. Usually the Yuga avatar comes the other 999 times in the one day of Brahma. Each Kali Yuga is there. There's a Kali Yuga, and then the Yuga avatar comes, and he teaches Kirtan. But it's not about Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya comes after Krishna appears once in the day of Brahma, in Dwapara Yuga, end of Dwapara Yuga, and Lord Chaitanya comes near the beginning of Kali Yuga to teach worship of Krishna through chanting the name of Krishna. So this is a special name, not just Nam Sankirtan, but it's Krishna's name. That's Lord Chaitanya's contribution. And as I said, of course, Krishna's name is 3,000 Vishnu names, approximately. So very special. So therefore we get more than effect of Ajamil chanting Narayan's name, much more. Well, very, very special. But then there's another speciality. Because it's not only Krishna's name. We also have Radha there. So Lord Chaitanya's mission is not just Nam Sankirtan, Yuga Dharma, and not just Krishna. It is to deliver Madhurya Rasa and Radha Krishna to the people of Kali Yuga. That's what's most rare. Most rare. Krishna is rare, but Madhurya Rasa and Radha Krishna is the rarest of all. That's the topmost treasure. Secret treasure. So Lord Chaitanya is generous and Mahavadanya because he gives this greatest secret to the worst people, the people of Kali Yuga, people without any qualification, people who are aparadis, people who are very sinful. So that's his mercy. And how does he do it? Through Nam Sankirtan. So therefore, he just doesn't chant Krishna's names, he also has there Radha's name embedded in the mantra. So we have Hare for Radhe. So we're not only chanting about Krishna, we're also chanting Radha's name. So this is very, very special. And of course, Rama is there, but what does Rama actually do? Another name for Krishna? Giver of enjoyment to Radha. So ultimately, we're chanting about Madhurya Rasa in chanting Hare Krishna, even though we may not know it. So we can say another form of Raganuga Bhakti also. So anyway, very, very special contribution of Lord Chaitanya to doing Kirtan, because it's Radha Krishna Kirtan actually, Radha Krishna Nam. So how much more we'll get from that than we get from even Krishna's name? 3,000 Vishnu names, Krishna's name, but if it's Radha Krishna, how much more we get from that? And when it's delivered through Lord Chaitanya, of course, then how much easier it is for us to get that mercy. Because this is very will to give it. So, as I said, there was a way of expressing this idea of difference between Krishna and Vishnu. Another way we can think of it is, of course, explained in the Nectar of Devotion, when the 64 qualities of Bhagavan are described in relation to Krishna. He has extra 4, and Vishnu has 60, and Krishna has 64. So we can explain it that way. Krishna is manifests sweetness in everything, which means intimacy, as opposed to Aishvarya and grandeur in the other forms of the Lord. So, therefore we have Rupa Madhurya, sweet form. All the forms of the Lord, they're actually one form, but they manifest differently, are spiritual, Satchidananda, full of bliss, etc., all beautiful, never aging, etc. But Krishna's beauty is very, very special, very, very sweet. And it is so sweet that even the demons become attracted to Krishna. So Shishupala and Kamsa could not stop thinking of Krishna, even though he was the enemy. And they became absorbed in Krishna because of his beautiful form and his attractive name. So what to speak of the devotees? So that is why the devotees, and the gopis particularly, when they're talking about Krishna's form and his beauty, etc., then they cannot tolerate not to see that form. It is so beautiful. And therefore they curse Brahma, because he gave them eyelids, and every time they blink, at that moment that they blink, they cannot see Krishna. So they are deprived of that sweetness. So that is the intensity of the beauty of the form of Krishna. And that is particular with this particular form as the cowherd boy in Vrindavan when he's Kaishore age. That's his pinnacle of beauty, sweet beauty, like that. And it's so beautiful that even the devatas and the wives of the devatas, they all start getting ecstatic symptoms of love for Krishna when they see that form. And even the wives of the brahmanas, they started falling in love with Krishna as well. So very, very sweet. And of course, even the animals and the trees, they fall in love with Krishna. So that is one thing. His very form is so sweet and beautiful. And the other is the devotees are the sweetest devotees, because all the devotees in Vrindavan, they never see Krishna as Supreme Lord. The elders see him as their son. Nanda and Yasoda see Krishna only as their son. And if he shows powers, as he did to Yasoda by opening his mouth and showing the universe within him, she forgets it. It's impossible for her to accept that. And she thinks Krishna is only my son. And that's so. Krishna is her son. And she doesn't think of anything powerful or whatever. Whereas Arjuna, when he saw the universal form, then he started begging Krishna, please forgive me, because I was acting as your friend and familiar, and we're eating together and joking together, but actually I know you're a Supreme Lord, so he feels guilty, you know. But Mother said, oh, this is all illusory, and she forgets everything when she sees the universal form. So the devotees are, and not just one devotee or two devotees, Nanda and Yasoda, but all the elder Brajabasis have this relationship with Krishna. He's our son. Like that. And then Krishna has all his friends, Sakas, cowherd boys. not one or two. Rama has, like his brothers, that's in like a Sakyarasa, but nobody else. But here we have all millions and millions of cowherd boys in Sakyarasa with Krishna. They play with Krishna, and they fight with Krishna, and they joke with Krishna, and they eat with Krishna, everything in a very familiar way. And they don't see him as Supreme Lord. They see him as their friend. And then, of course, we have the Madhurya Rasa. Of course, we have Vishnu and Lakshmi and Sita and Rama, etc., but limited. So we have billions of gopis. In the Rasa Leela, there were 3 billion gopis. And Krishna is so remarkable that he has a personal relationship with each one, so he expands himself into 3 billion forms to dance with each gopi also. And they don't see him as Supreme Lord, they see him as their lover only. Now, of course, in Dwarka, it's a mixture. 16,108 queens, also Madhurya Rasa, but they also see him as Supreme Lord. So that is why the form in Vrindavan is considered very special. They don't see him as Supreme Lord at all. And therefore we have the sweetness manifesting in a more intense way. So though Dwarka is said to be Purna form of Krishna and Mathura is Purna Tara, a little more intense, the most intense is Vrindavan. This is Purnatama, the most complete manifestation of sweetness of all. And therefore the pastimes in Vrindavan are there. And therefore the third sweetness is the pastimes in Vrindavan are very, very sweet compared to other places like Mathura, Dwarka, and compared to the Ramchandra or Vishnu or anyone else. The pastimes take on a very, very sweet form because they don't see him as Supreme Lord at all. And reverence isn't there. So they act quite differently. So Mother Yasoda does not see Krishna as the Lord, she sees him as her son. And therefore, she has no hesitation in grabbing a stick and running after Krishna to punish him. Devaki would never do that, because she knows Krishna is Supreme Lord. And we are all his servant. We don't dare do that. And the same with Ramchandra. His parents won't threaten him with a stick. But Mother Yasoda does not see Krishna as God at all. And therefore she very freely takes up the stick and runs after Krishna, and then she tries to tie him up. Other devotees and other forms of the Lord, they would never attempt to tie up the Lord because they know he's all powerful, and he punishes everybody. He ties everybody up with karma. So how can we touch the Lord? But Mother Yasoda is there struggling to tie up Krishna. And of course he resists. And all the rope, and she still cannot tie him up. But then Krishna sees she's getting tired, and then he agrees to be tied up. So he appreciates her effort as a mother. He is tied up by the bonds of affection for his mother, so he agrees to be tied up. But it doesn't happen with any other form of the Lord. The devotees will not dare to do such things as they do in Vrindavan with the Lord. And the Lord also doesn't do such things with the devotees. But here in Vrindavan, Mother Yasoda tries to tie up Krishna, and Krishna really agrees to be tied up, and he enjoys it. He enjoys being scolded by his mother. He enjoys being tied up by his mother. So we have all sorts of sweet pastimes in relation to Krishna do manifest with the other forms of the Lord. So that makes very special. And we have Venu Madhurya. One unique feature of Krishna is his flute. So sometimes we may, well, yeah, flute, okay. He has a horn also and whatever. So there is some very special attraction with that flute. It's a messenger because it can communicate with everybody. And it invokes sweetness in all different relationships. So if the cowherd boys hear it, they get Sakya Rasa increase. If the gopis hear it, they get Madhurya Rasa increase like this. And even the animals hear it, they get Rasa. Or even the plants, the Jamuna, or the clouds. Everything gets affected by the sound of Krishna's flute. And it's all Madhurya, all very, very intimate and sweet. They aspire to serve Krishna with great intimacy through the sound of the flute. So, very special thing. Okay. So, the name is very special, but then the name of Krishna is very, very special. And then Hare Krishna is very, very, very special. because we got Radha Krishna also. So we have this verse from the Padma Purana, Naman Chintamani Krishna. Krishna is Chintamani, and the name is Chintamani because the name and the form of the Lord designated by the name are non-different. That's mentioned in the last line, Abhinatvat Nama Namino. So Krishna is Chintamani. Why? Because what is Chintamani? Chintamani is a very special stone, gem. We don't have any Chintamanis in the world, I think, at this point in time. But in ancient times, they seem to have this stone, and it's a wish stone. And Chinta, of course, means thought. Money is jewel. Chintamani is a thought jewel. So you have this jewel, and you think of anything, it manifests. As if by magic, inconceivable Shakti. This is sometimes used as an example of Achintya Shakti, that there is a Chintamani, and by inconceivable power, it manifests things. And we don't know how it does it, but it does it. So this gem, you hold it and you think of anything, you get it. If you want rasgullas, you get it. If you want halava, you get it. If you want house, you get it. If you want television, you get it. If you want car, you get it. If you want house, you get it. Like this. All material. And if you want something beyond that, if you want to go to Brahmaloka, you can also get that. And if you want liberation, mukti, you can also get that. Oh, no, actually, if the material one will not give you that. But the spiritual one, Krishna is Chintamani. He will give you mukti. He will give you anything in the material world, all the way up to Brahmaloka. He will also give you mukti, and he'll also give you spiritual world. And anything in the spiritual world. That is the nature of spiritual Chintamani. So Krishna, as I said, is the topmost. He manifests all the possible rasas in all varieties, etc., and intensities. So, therefore, any spiritual desire can be manifest most fully with Krishna. Well, to speak of material things. So it is said, of course, that if you want material things, the name, not only Krishna's name, Vishnu's name, can also give all the material things. And if you want liberation, of course, obviously Krishna can give liberation by the name, because even if he kills the demons, he gives them. And it's said that Namabhas will give you liberation very easy. So liberation is no problem. But the name of Krishna will also give you rasa, and not only rasa, but the highest rasa. So Krishna and the name are non-different. Though they look different because name is only sound, it is actually the same as Krishna. So that's the wonderful thing. So they're non-different. They can yield everything. So the second line says, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Krishna is the very form of rasa, but Chaitanya Rasa, spiritual rasa, not material rasa. In the material world, we have rasa, material rasa, and that's why we're attracted to material objects and material bodies, because they give rasa. They give a material taste, a material enjoyment to us. Well, everybody wants happiness in the material world, and they try to get it some way or other, and they have an experience of rasa. But it's material, and ultimately temporary, and subject to destruction and unhappiness ultimately. So this is spiritual rasa, eternal, indestructible. And Krishna is the very form of all rasas. As I said, he is Akila Rasamritamurti. He is the form of all primary and secondary rasas in their fullest manifestation. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. The name also is. So chanting the holy name, then you can get any rasa also. Very wonderful. Purna. Of course, all forms of the Lord are Purna. But as I said, Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, so he is Purna, 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 Purnatama. He manifests everything in the most wonderful way, complete way. All rasas, all pastimes, etc. So the name is the same again. Name of Krishna can manifest all these different things. And Sudha, pure or purifying. Krishna, of course, is purifying. If he touches the demon becomes purified also. So similarly with the name is purifying. So that if one chants even accidentally the name, then all karmas are gone. What can be more powerful than that? As far as purifying us of sin, karmas, etc. So the Lord does this, and the name does this. And Nityamukta, eternally liberated, never contaminated. The Lord comes in the material world as avatar, and his speciality is he's visible to everybody, but he's not material and is not affected by the gunas. And if he disappears, it's not death, he's just disappeared, that's all. The name also is like that. It appears in the material world. It looks material because we can hear it with our material ears. And actually it's more merciful than Krishna because even when Krishna is not here, the name is always here. Krishna only comes once in the day of Brahma. Name is always here. So very, very merciful and never contaminated by anything material. So that's the quality of the Lord and the holy name, Nityamukta. So very, very special. So this is one point we should keep in mind. So in the story of Ajamil, yes, the Lord's name showed its power by destroying all the karmas of Ajamil. But how much more the name of Krishna can give, and how much more the name of Hare Krishna can give to everybody, especially for serious devotees. So, for serious devotees, we also have to be a little careful. I've got 15 minutes, okay. We do have to need a little knowledge, because without that knowledge, we have nama-bhas. And if we have nama-bhas, we don't get prema, so we don't get rasa. We get up to mukti, which is what the demons also get, so that's not what we want. So we do need some knowledge. So that is why we have scriptures. Some people say, oh, why do we need knowledge? That's all jnana. No, but it's also part of bhakti. Shravanam means to hear and get some knowledge. Scripture. So we need it. Fortunately, the knowledge is not too complicated, and a lot of it is also sweet, so it's not a problem. So we have a philosophical part of our knowledge, which we call the Sambandha Gyan. And it is not too philosophical. We only have to understand some basic points, and this will help clear up our nama-bhas. One is Ishvara. We have Supreme Lord. He is independent. He is the cause of everything. He is full of all knowledge. We have his Shaktis. First Shakti is Antaranga Shakti, Chit Shakti, Sarup Shakti, internal energy. Through the spiritual energy of the Lord, he manifests his names, forms, qualities, activities, Dhamma, etc. So in other words, the whole spiritual world and all the pastimes are manifest through the internal energy of the Lord. So that's his most important energy. It's called internal energy. It's intrinsically part of the Supreme Lord, and it manifests itself in the most surprising ways. We have the Tatastha Shakti, or marginal energy of the Lord, which manifests jivas, who are somewhat like the Lord because they are conscious, but they're unlike the Lord because they are dependent. They cannot exist separately from the Lord. And they are anu, very small, and infinite in number. The Lord is only one supreme entity. Jivas are many, 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 many small entities. So that's the difference. So they have some free will, they have a capacity for bliss. They're called bhokta, enjoyer or experiencer. They can experience things, they can know things, they can do things. It's the capacity of the jiva, but they're dependent and subject to fault. So the two varieties, those in the spiritual world, those in the material world. We have the baddhas and the muktas. Lord is always mukta, he's never baddha. That's the difference. Jivas can be mukta, baddha or mukta. And the third energy is the bahiranga shakti, external energy. This manifests the material world. This energy is completely different from the Lord in one sense because it is achit, unconscious completely. It's not like the jiva who has a center of consciousness and knows things. Prakriti can do nothing like that. It has no consciousness. And completely dependent on the will of the Lord to manifest. everything. Of course, within Prakriti, the Lord fixes certain rules by which it can go on in certain ways and do things, but nevertheless, it can't do things on its own. So this is the energy that manifests the material world with all the elements and all 14 worlds and all the material bodies for the jivas. So that's our philosophy, very simple. Supreme Lord at top, Chit Shakti manifesting a spiritual world, Achit Shakti manifesting a material world, and then we have a Jiva Shakti, some in the spiritual world, some in the material world, because they are imperfect. So the whole goal of scripture and knowledge is to get us, those who are in the material world, out of the material world to the spiritual world. Yeah? And therefore, we have different methods to do that. For the most hopeless people, we get karma yoga. For the more advanced people, we get jnana yoga, astanga yoga, and then bhakti yoga. So the basic level is at least follow some rules and regulations and avoid some sinful activities and get out of the lower gunas and go to a higher guna. That is what karma yoga does for people. But it basically tries to cater to people's sense of enjoyment in the material world. So therefore we have artha and kama. You follow dharma to get artha and kama. You can support your material body very nicely, live very happily in the material world, and get even a little extra happiness and finer happiness by going to higher planetary systems. That is karma yoga. Yeah? If one gets to sattva-gun, the quality of sattva-gun is we get prakash, and we understand we're not the body, we're atma. So this, we become qualified for jnana yoga and astanga yoga. So then we attempt to get out of the material world, get rid of ignorance, get rid of karma, get free from all of this, and understand permanently I am spirit, I'm whatever. I am Brahman, whatever. So that's the goal of jnana and yoga, get out of the material world. Not bad, because it's certainly better than staying in illusion, getting rid of the ignorance, but it's only a partial solution, because it's only getting rid of the main problem of the suffering. So the last step is to recognize bhakti yoga and recognize Supreme Lord, and through that we actually get happiness, not just destruction of misery. We actually get happiness through spiritual rasa. So that's the process of bhakti. So the scriptures provide us all of these things to get from material world to spiritual world, basically. If we only get to the jnana, we get out of the material world, we don't get the spiritual world, really. We don't get the rasa in the spiritual world. So if we want to get completely out, then we have to follow the process of bhakti, not end with jnana and yoga, whatever like that. Okay. So we have the gradual process. If you're not qualified for anything, at least do karma yoga, and then do the jnana and yoga, and then finally we come to bhakti. Then you can get to the spiritual world. Other is, if you have faith, and scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, and we accept the Supreme Lord, and that we're a jiva, then we can start the process of bhakti. And we don't have to go through these other processes. We just start this process, and we do sadhana, we get to bhava, we get to prema, then we go to the spiritual world. So we can go the indirect method, which takes many lifetimes, or we can just do bhakti and go. So this is the preferable method, and therefore in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharma prajaja mamekam saranam braja. Just give up all dharmas and surrender to me. Quicker process, especially in Kali Yuga, when there's dharma and varnashrama is not very much intact, it's very difficult to do, big struggle to do it. So at least do the bhakti, and we survive. So in the bhakti process, then, we have bhakti as the main process, and particularly for Kali Yuga, this is the main process. In there, we also have chanting of the name as the main process in bhakti. We have 64 angas of bhakti, but of those we have 5 primary ones: hearing from Bhagavatam, chanting the name of the Lord, associating with devotees, worshiping the deity, living the holy Dham. 5 important ones, and of that, chanting holy name is the number 1. But it's not just any name, because Lord Chaitanya has indicated it is Krishna's name and Radha Krishna's name. So very, very special name. Anyway, the name is very special. It's an aspect of his Sarup Shakti. His Sarup Shakti has 3 parts: Sandini, Samvit, Hladini. So from the Sandini Shakti of the Lord manifests the name, his qualities, his activities, and his form. So it's intrinsically part of the Lord, non-different, Abeda, non-different from the Lord, his name. But the thing is that in the name, because it's spiritual, of course, we got the name, form, qualities, activities, etc. Everything is there in the name, form, qualities, activities, embedded within the name. So if we chant the name, we can realize the form, the qualities, the activities, and finally, rasa of the Supreme Lord, simply through the name, which is strange because it's only a sound. But the sound is such that it can manifest everything for us. Like that. So very, very powerful. And if it's the name of Krishna, then we get manifestation of Krishna with all of his rasas. 12 complete rasas. So very remarkable. Now, there are two types of names. Primary names, Mukhyunam. So these will describe Bhagavan. That is the Lord, his form, qualities, activities in the spiritual world. Say we have Shyamsundar or Gopal or Govinda, etc. So these are the names we want to chant. There are many other names which are secondary names, which will describe the Lord's function as creator, Paramatma, Brahman, all-pervading, all-powerful, very general names. So these are called secondary names, and they will lead to liberation. They're both powerful, obviously, but we prefer Krishna rather than Brahman. So we take the names, the primary names of the Lord. We choose the primary names. That's our main concentration. And we have different forms of chanting. Obviously, we don't want the aparad, means offensive mentality towards the Lord and the devotees and bhakti. So we don't want that. We can't do that. I'm ready for my other class. So we'll finish up real quick. Nama aparad we want to avoid. It destroys everything. Namabhas, permissible but slow process, covered over. And then we have Sudhanam, with knowledge and no mixed desires. So Namabhas is okay, but better to have Sudhanam, because by Sudhanam we can get to prema. Pure name, we get to prema. Namabhas, we don't get prema, we can get up to liberation. So I don't have time, I can't cover that. So anyway, here we have, okay. Qualification for chanting. Any human being can chant, as the Ajamil could also chant, but that is accidental chanting. We get some effect, and it's a great effect for the yogis and gyanis because you can get rid of all your karmas and get liberation. But for the devotees, not so good. Serious chanting means we have faith and we chant, and then we're a devotee. And this brings about prema. But as I said, it should not be namabhas. It should be Sudhanam. For Sudhanam, we need some knowledge to distinguish Krishna from devatas, jiva from Krishna, matter from spirit, etc., and pure bhakti from impure bhakti. And if we have that, then we come to Sudhanam level and practice and get prema. So we're not restricted by time, place, circumstance, etc. You can chant any place, any time, pure, impure, whatever. Very, very flexible process. Anybody can do it. Any country, any religion, and anything, anytime, old age, young age, whatever. When you're born, when you're dying, whatever. Any planet, from Patalaloka to Brahmaloka, spiritual world, everywhere. It manifests everywhere. Even at the topmost level, we have the gopis chanting the name of the Lord. When Krishna disappeared in the Rasa Leela, they gave up finally and they went to the bank of the Jamuna. And they began chanting, and then Krishna appeared. Okay, so anyway, if our goal through chanting is prema. So if we want prema, then primary names, not secondary names. Sudhanam, not namabhas. Constant chanting, not just chanting once. Ajamil chanted once, but we should chant constantly because we're in sadhana. And associate with devotees, through that we'll get our proper knowledge to avoid namabhas. And we do favorable actions that support this whole process of bhakti, and we avoid all the unfavorable actions like sinful activities, etc. And we follow those simple principles, then we can get prema. Okay, so I think we have a meeting now, so I have to go. Hare Krishna. What's this? This is a question, anyway. What is passionate study of scriptures and how is it different from meticulous study? How can it be? Well, passionate study would be in the modes of nature, I would think, if it's passionate. And that would mean if it's in Rajagun, it would mean that we do have a material motive in our study. So in the Nectar of Devotion that Rupa Goswami, in the Angas of Bhakti, among the negatives is, don't read many books. Then that means don't read many books for the wrong purpose. So if we're studying scripture to argue and defeat others, that's not our goal. If we're reading many books to make a profession of being a Bhagavat Katha speaker so we get money, that is not the goal. So that's Rajagun motives, we could say, in studying. We want to make a living out of speaking about Krishna or whatever. We want to become famous as a speaker. That's Rajagun, very Rajagun. So we have to avoid such things, or whatever like that. How is submissive study of scriptures manifest? Well, submissive study means we follow the parampara, we follow the bona fide devotees in a sampradaya. We have submissiveness, pranipat, pariprashna, and seva. Okay, I have a meeting now. Hare Krishna.